Okay, welcome to Unit 3, Lesson 1. Today we're going to be looking at trigonometry review, and these are things that you've learned before in grade 10 and also in grade 9. And so we're going to start at looking at traditional trigonometry involving a right triangle, where we have a triangle with a corner that has 90 degrees. Now, before we do any of these questions, the review is going to look around, making sure that we understand that we're labeling the triangle based on where we're looking from. And that's a really, really important concept. So if we're looking at this angle here, which we call angle theta, that means there's really a person looking from that perspective. And we've got to label the triangle with three sides. The three sides we have to label are our opposite side, our adjacent side, and our hypotenuse. And we're labeling them from the perspective of where we're drawing this person. So if we're talking about angle theta, the person's looking from point A or angle A. And so what we do is we label. The side they see opposite would be this side. So this is your opposite side. The side that is directly opposite to the right angle is your H. And whatever's left over is your A. So label your triangle always in that order. Opposite first, then your hypotenuse, and whatever's left over is your A. You must do this first or else you can't label or you can't solve a right triangle properly. Now there's three tangent ratios. Three trig ratios. There's tangent, sine, and cosine. And the way it works is that we're going to choose which of the three we have to pick depends on which sides are given to us. So we could use more than one, but a lot of times you're forced to pick one, and you have to pick the right one. Now, how you pick the right one comes down to memorizing SOHCAHTOA. So you do have to know that. I'm not giving that to you. So if you don't know this, you need to know it. And what that does is it helps remind you which two sides you're using. So for sine, we're going to use O and H. So O over H. And for tangent, we're using O over A, and cosine we're using A over H. And if you look at this diagram here, in the tangent ratio, the tangent of theta, angle theta, is taking side A and dividing it by side B, because side A is our opposite and side B is our adjacent. And that's why we're going O over A. So you have to know this formula, and a way to memorize it is to memorize that. So this is straight review. If you don't know this and you need to go over this a little bit more, you might want to do that. But this will clarify that if you're still a little confused. So when I try to solve sine A, this is telling me the angle. For all of these, this is angle A, B, 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 and angle B, and angle A. So I have to draw it from that perspective. So for sine of A, it means that I'm looking at this angle. That's angle A, so the person is drawn there. This makes that your O, your H, and your leftover is the A. So I want to know what sine of A is. Sine of A uses O over H. So I want to know O over H. Okay, so I'm going to take the O side and divide it by the H side. So sine of A really equals 4 divided by 5. And you can leave it as a fraction, or you could write it as a decimal if you want it. Tan of A is still looking from A, but it's going to involve O over A. So tan of A equals O over A. So it involves the O side and the A side. So 4 over 3. Okay? Now, be careful. Cos of B and sine of B are not looking from here. They're looking from angle B. So that means these labels you've done are no longer correct. So you've got to erase them, because we're looking from a different perspective. And that's the part that people screw up. So draw your little guy here, because he's looking from angle B, and now relabel your triangle. So that's your O, that's your H, and the leftover is the A. Okay, now you can do the question. Cos of B says take the A over the H, because we're talking about ka. The A side this time is now 4, and the H is 5. So cos of B equals 4 divided by 5. Okay, sine of b says from b take the O over the h, so 3 over the 5. Okay, so 3 over 5. Okay, tan of b would be O over a really quickly, so it would be just 3 over 4. And when we're talking about angle ABC is this angle, so I don't have to redraw my guy. And angle ABC, and if we're trying to figure out what that is, well, this is skipping ahead in terms of trying to solve our trigonometric ratios. And I think what I'm going to do is come back to that question and fill this in for you later, because it really doesn't make much sense right now. So I'm not going to answer that quite yet, but we're going to come back to that and solve these questions. So I'd rather go on to the notes further and then come back to solving angles, because we're trying to figure out what is the missing angle. Okay, let's go on to the next page. Okay, these are questions trying to solve either missing side or trying to find an angle. That's why I didn't want to do that previous example there. Okay, if you have a drawing, you've got to take this drawing and turn it into a right triangle. So you've got a road and it's rising 15 meters for every 150 meters of horizontal distance. So that means for every 150 meters that I'm driving horizontally, because remember horizontally is this way, because the horizon is this way, I'm going 150 or 15 meters of vertical distance. So that means I'm going to go up by 15 meters for every 150 meters that I drive. Okay, what is the angle of inclination? So I've got to finish this as a triangle. So I draw as a triangle, I put in my 90 degrees, and the angle of inclination is just asking you how steep is this grade, or how steep is that hill going up. So what's the angle of inclination? Okay, so this is what the previous example was trying to find. So we're trying to find this angle. So the very first thing you do is label your triangle, just like in the previous examples. Draw your guy, label, so he sees this as the O, that's your H, and that's your A. Now, you've got to decide which of the three ratios are you using. Are you using sine, cosine, or tangent? And how do you know? Well, you want to know the angle, and you have to have some information. Does the H give us any information? Nothing. There's nothing there. You can't use the H. But the O and the A can help us find the missing third piece of information. You always need two pieces of info. So that means I need to use the O and I have to use the A. So I'm going to choose tan. Now I'm going to write out the formula and then fill in the pieces I know. Remember, there's always three pieces. There's an angle and two sides. You're always going to know two of them. So in this case, I don't know the angle. That's angle theta. I have no idea what it is, so I leave it. The O side we know is 15 meters, and the A side is 150. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have to solve this. So in my calculator, I'm going to go 15 divided by 150. Find what that is as a decimal. And to solve for angles, we're going to put into our calculator tan negative 1. And the reason is we want to get this angle all by itself. So if I move the tan over to the other side, it's multiplying here. So I'd have to divide it. And another way of writing divide is just saying tan negative 1. So you're only going to use a negative 1 function for angles, never for sides. So you might want to write that down. So negative 1 function only for angles, not the sides. So I'm going to go 15 divided by 150 and go tan negative 1. And my calculator will tell me that my answer is approximately 6 degrees. It's just under. It's like 5.7 degrees. So it's 6 degrees is the grade going up. Okay? The other big important piece of info is on your calculator, make sure it says DEG or D, because if it says rad, you'll get the wrong answer. And I'm going to pause the video here for part 2.